حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله ثم الحمد لله. الحمد لله الذي نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ولا نذير له ولا مثال له. وأشهد أن سيدنا وسندنا ومولانا محمدا عبده وحبيبه ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد في الأولين، وصل عليه في الآخرين، وصل عليه عند الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. وبعد، أيها المؤمنون الحاضرون، أوصيكم ونفسي الخاطئة بتقوى الله وطاعته. إن الله مع الذين اتقوا والذين هم محسنون. يقول تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون. All praise and glory belongs to Allah, and I ask Him to send His peace and His blessings upon His beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family members, his companions, and all of those who followed his way of life. And I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His messenger and His servant as well. Dear brothers and sisters, today we're going to talk about a very not only relevant but very essential khutbah or topic, and that is about unity. No matter how many times we talk about this topic, this never gets old. The reason is because shaitan, devil out there, always tries to put fitna, trials, disconnect people from each other, cause corruption on earth, so people, they can forget about their responsibilities that they have for one another and the brotherhood that they're supposed to have for one another, and enhance that brotherhood. When people disconnect from each other, when there is unity, then the door of all calamities, the door of all the bad and evil things is open. And we Muslims have seen that probably more than anybody else throughout the world in the last 100 years. After the fall of the Ottoman Empire, throughout the world there was bleeding, crimes, injustice, tyrants, suffering, and the list goes on and on. You mentioned to me a Muslim country, and we all know the history of sufferings, in particularly in the last probably 100 or 200 years. We know, based on the history, how some technologically advanced countries that are considered to be very powerful, and countries who often speak about human dignity, liberty, democracy, recognition and establishing of the human rights, are the same countries often who have dragged Muslim countries in deep pits. They have dragged them to economical instabilities. They have dragged them to feeling of nationalism. They have dragged them to ignorance instead of knowledge. They have dragged them to give up their values and adopt the values of those occupying countries. Egypt was one of them. Palestine was one of them. Lebanon was one of them. Syria was one of them. And the list goes on and on. India was one of them. We're talking about Muslim countries that have millions and millions, large Muslim countries who have been occupied and systematically oppressed, and murderings took place in millions, not thousands, but in millions, only in the last 2 centuries. Yet again, it is very ironic how many of those people who may be the grandchildren of those tyrants and people of injustice dare and speak today about human dignity and human rights. And many of them, they go into these Muslim countries as well, even in the 20th century and the 21st century, to cause corruption, to strip them from their resources, use their wealth. They're not ashamed. They're not afraid that they are in the 21st century and people get to know about these things quickly. They're not afraid of that because they do possess power. And they are united under one cause. And that cause is interest. That cause is profit. That cause is materialism. So they're united. As we see many people be united in different businesses. And I'm not saying they're doing something wrong when they unite in a business, let's say for example locally here, on how to enhance it and how they become very open-minded and culturally accepting, and diversity and all of these words, they start playing a very important role in enhancing and progressing their businesses. So these powers, these rich individuals, these corporates or these countries, they're stripping Muslim countries away from their resources because they are all uniting for possession, benefit, interest. And of course, often in order to justify the crimes, to justify the occupation, you have to throw in words. You have to throw in people who are progressive in the name of democracy, in the name of human rights, in the name of justice and all of that stuff. But when the facts, they speak louder than words, it becomes crystal clear the intention. Again, when the actions, they speak louder than words, then the intentions become crystal clear to everybody. When the economy, instead of being rebuilt, goes down, when millions and millions of people are murdered in modern age, when civilians, sisters, daughters, mothers, little children, elder people are being murdered right and left, No matter how many times you're going to mention to me these modern and beautiful words, your intentions are being crystallized by your actions. Somebody may say, why you're mentioning this? I am mentioning this because many of us are not aware of what's happening and what has been happening previously. Our youth sometimes is busy with school and other things, and they do not have chances to hear an explanation like this. A reality that our world, our Muslim world, is suffering for decades and centuries. And as a result of this, now here's the part, here's the connection. This impacts our unity. That's why I'm mentioning this. Because this impacts our unity. How does this impact our unity? These occupying forces who made Muslim countries as colonies, they did not just simply leave the Muslim countries without leaving behind them paths or ways so they can still use these countries and use their resources, or influence in their politics, influence in their economy, influence in other spectrums of the life. For example, Muslims, they were not all about nationalism the way how they are nowadays. Muslims in Muslim countries were guided by Islamic principles, Islamic values, that does not call for nationalism. And when I say nationalism, there are two ways of understanding: culture and nationalism, and language as well. Listen to this. Islam does not want nationalism to be the reason why an individual may feel superior against another individual based on nationalism. Islam does not want, does not preach, does not guide Muslims to feel superior over the other people based on their economical level. Islam does not view the individual of how much the individual makes. Islam does not view the superiority on the language that the individual speaks. Islam does not place the superiority on the individual based on the language and the history of your country. But Islam puts superiority and value to the person who is the most righteous in the eyes of God. The one who cultivates righteousness, the taqwa in his heart or her heart. The one who is conscious about God often or constantly. That's where superiority is in Islam. And this is not my own understanding, but this is the verse found in Surah Al-Hujurat, where all of you are familiar with it, where it says, "Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum." The best one of you is the one who is the most conscious of God. Period. So Islamic societies, Islamic countries were built on these principles. When they were occupied and colonized, then the picture of nationalism came into the surface, or the problems with nationalism came into surface. Somebody will say, how do you know that there were no problems before based on nationalism? Well, let's just say that in our Muslim countries, we were diversified. Our Muslim countries were diversified way, way, way before and more than other countries. If you think about Cairo, you will find the whole world in it. If you think about Istanbul, you will find the whole world in it. And I'm not talking about just being present for economical reasons like it is nowadays. We come to certain countries in order to enhance our economy, in order to do better with our economy, in order to have better human rights and all of that. But economy plays an important role in migrating into the Western countries. In Muslim countries, societies were built in such a way where people, they felt the brotherhood between each other. Based on these principles, not based on simply personal interest. And I'm not denying that fact that it could exist. And again, the ways how we lived with each other in Muslim countries, the ways how we hosted each other, the ways how we cared for each other, and all of these are inherited to us as well, is a sign that tells us that Muslims considered each other brothers in Islam. They were guided by the Quranic principles. Al-mu'minu, or إنما المؤمنون إخوة فأصلحوا بين أخويكم. Indeed, believers are brothers with each other. Therefore, mend those relationships with one another. Al-Muslimu akhul Muslim. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says that the Muslim is the brother of the other Muslim. Indeed, the Quran recognizes the fact that Muslims and everybody else in the world should recognize that they are coming from a particular nation. They are members, they are citizens of a particular nation. And also, they belong to tribes. Tribes, they have customs. They have cultures. Customs that may differ from another tribe. And these elements are mentioned in the Quran again, in Surah Al-Hujurat, in the same very verse that says, Ya ayyuhan nas, O you people, we have created you from a single male and female. And we have placed you in nations. In other words, it's not my choice to be an Albanian, but it is the choice of God for me to be an Albanian. It is not your choice to be an Indian, but it is the choice of God that He has made for you to be an Indian. It is not your choice to be an American, but it is the choice of God for you to be an American. So He says, وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا. We have placed you in nations. You are citizens of particular nations. I say we should feel proud of our nations. And we should enhance the citizenship and help in building better nations. If I'm an Albanian, I should try my best to help that country, to help that civilization. If I'm an American, I should do my best to help this country. And the list goes on and on. But also He says, وَقَبَائِل. And He has also placed you in tribes. And as I said, an important element of being a part of tribe is recognizing the customs of that tribe. The culture kicks in here. And I'm also going to be, as a good citizen, I'm going to enhance my culture. I'm going to play a positive role in progressing my culture, in applying those positive elements from my culture and sharing those values with the other people as well. This is what I'm taught as a Muslim. But I repeat again, I am not taught for any of these elements to be used in order to express superiority towards the others based on these elements. Otherwise, they can be used against me in this world and in the hereafter. And these elements can destroy my unity with my brothers and sisters in my faith and in humanity as well. Therefore, if I belong to a particular nation, I'm not going to value myself as better than the other people because I belong to that nation. Because I speak Arabic, and the Arabic is the language of the Quran, I'm not going to value myself way more than the other people based on this difference. Because I am a professional person, I am not going to value myself superior over the others like many other people do out there. And because I'm educated, I'm not going to feel superior over the others who may be less educated than I am. Because as a Muslim, I recognize the principle again, إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ إِتْقَاكُمْ. The best one of you is the one who is the most righteous, the most God-fearing, the most conscious about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, going back to our topic, if we want to start developing unity, we need to see all of these obstacles that are cutting our ways, that are disconnecting us from other Muslims. We need to mend these relations by recognizing these obstacles that we are facing. And unless we do not recognize these differences, unless we not only speak about humbleness, but we practice humbleness. We not only speak about helping the refugees and the immigrants and those that are in poverty, but we start doing actions towards it, we will not be able to achieve unity. But unity again is an important step towards our future. Don't expect unity from people who just bring to you technology, right? Don't expect that you're going to unify it because now you know you are more professional and you are more educated. It can play a big role for sure, but this is not going to be your solution. We see how people having technology can actually be more isolated from each other, right? We see how some advanced countries, again, in the name of democracy and in the name of serving humanity, are actually not only murdering people and stripping them from their resources, but at the same time, they are distancing them from each other. So let's not fall for anybody or anything that claims that this is the way for you to unite. This is the way for you to do better. If you don't take these things in your own hands as a Muslim, as Muslim nations, if you do not stand up and say, enough is enough, enough is enough. It is the time for me to understand the other people. It is time for me to sit at a table and share a meal. It is with another family. It is important for me to start thinking about those who are in poverty. And even though I may not be that rich, I have some abilities to help those that are in need. I have the blessing of having some knowledge. I'm going to take this and I'm going to share it with my people. When we stand for each other, when we stand for each other and work for each other, then we're going to be able to see this unity. Otherwise, no matter how professional we become, again, no matter how advanced technologically we become, no matter how educated we become, it may not serve, it may not have us achieve unity. I have seen in my life, I have some years of experience in the path of outreach, da'wah, and working in Islamic education, going through schooling, going through a lot. And I have seen how different individuals, including Muslim scholars, who are blessed to have a lot of knowledge, they show superiority towards the others who may be less educated than they are. We have seen professors who have reached levels of PhD in certain researching in certain areas and using that as a tool to show superiority towards the others. Even those who tend to be Muslim scholars, or those who claim, or those who are known, let's say, to be Muslim scholars. And let alone other people from different professions. I'm talking about Muslim scholars because they should know better. Again, it is a different scenario, it is a different picture when you see certain individuals being so articulate in expressing their views, being so eloquent in speaking in front of the others. But when it comes to work with them, you recognize that there is a big challenge. And always or often that challenge is the feeling of superiority. I am not making things up. I am speaking the reality of my experience that I've seen. So that's why I'm saying, if we want us living in the United States, Muslims living everywhere else, we have to recognize this baggage that we're bringing with us and mend the relations with each other. I'm not saying mend the relations with those who you don't talk to. I'm saying mend better relations with those who you may not know, who may be from a different culture. They're still a part of your community. When we do some interfaith or multi-faith work, we often sit down in tables and we communicate. We open up doors of communication and we expose our families in gatherings with people of different faiths. We do that because it is very essential in order to build relationship with other people of other faiths. But what about each other? How many of us are really concerned and have good relationships with other people who may belong to different cultures in our community? I ask every one of you, when was the last time you invited somebody from a different culture, from a different nation, to be in your house to have a meal with your family? When was that last time you did, if you did it? If you didn't do it, why not? When was the last time that you really were a part of a joy or a ceremony or a gathering of certain individuals who belong to a particular culture? And you just went there together with friends and all of that. When was the last time you invited people from other cultures or from different nations in your own party or in your own gathering? Or was it always with your own people? I know you're not doing anything haram. It's permissible. But are we serving the other objectives where the Quran is saying, فَأَصْلِحُوا بينكم بين أخويكم. Mend those relations. Even though they're not broken, mend them, get them better. Progress in relations with the other people. And in this country, we have the opportunity more than anywhere else, where we have Muslims from all over the world, to do better, to be more diverse. When was the last time you invited people who embraced Islam recently or years ago? When was the last time that a new Muslim came to your place and you shared a meal with that person? When it comes to people becoming Muslims in the masjid, takbir, Allahu Akbar, everybody feels so proud, everybody feels so good, right? Our hearts are so excited, MashaAllah. And then what? How can we advance? How can we move forward? How can we be united if we are only people of reaction, just a limited reaction, reactionists versus builders, versus thoughtful person, versus wise individuals? This is the reality. This is the bitter reality for many of us, I know. And I'm not saying this to make you sad or to put you on spot. Wallahi al-azim, that's not my intention. My intention is to wake us up and to recognize what we're missing and what we need to do. Not just for ourselves, but for our future generations and for our future in the hereafter. Because we will be asked, wallah, we're going to be asked about all of this. We're going to be asked about all of this. Because you, the American Muslims, have the opportunities more than any other Muslim. Or let's say you are among those who have the highest opportunities in the world to do something. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. And I'm going to end it with this. All of you unite under the rope of God and do not be disconnected. And remember the times when you used to be enemies with each other. Enemies based on what? Based on culture, based on pride, based on the pride of the tribe that you used to have. We know this. We know how Arabs were almost about to be destroyed. وَكُنْتُمْ شَفَاء حُفْرَةٍ وَكُنْتُمْ عَلَى شَفَاء حُفْرَةٍ مِنَ النَّارِ. You were right there at the edge of the pit of the hell. You're about to be destroyed. فَأَنْقَذَكُمْ مِنْهَا. But He took you away from it. He saved you from it. He took you from your hands. Come on, let me show you the right way, how you should live as a dignified and as a valuable human being, to be in peace with your Creator and the creation. Who was Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu when he entered Palestine? He could not even be recognized because he was pushing the donkey of his servants. Which one of us will do that? I don't do that stuff, man. I'm a professional. I'm an educated individual. They could not even, the priests of Palestine, they could not even recognize who's your leader. Where is your leader, man? We don't see your leader. Because he was pushing the donkey. It was the turn. He took turns, right? For the servant to be, for a period of time, riding the donkey, and he will be the one pushing or staying by the donkey there to make sure the donkey is walking. And sometimes it would be the leader on top of the donkey and the servant would be pushing or would be there right next to him. They couldn't recognize that. This is humbleness. You want to talk about humbleness? This is humbleness. Let's see how many of us now, Afghanis have arrived already here. Afghani refugees have arrived here in Arizona. How many of us are going to just simply send a pack and some clothes here as a donation? And how many of us are really going to be engaged with making sure that their needs are fulfilled? And the person doesn't need always a toothbrush and a piece of cloth to put on. But a person needs to know how to open a bank account. A person needs to know how to buy a phone. A person needs to know how to pay the bills. A person needs to know how to search for a better place to live. A person needs to know how to register their kids in the school. Where are you going to be when these needs arise? Where? This is a question that all of us have to think. Are the other religious institutions welcoming the refugees? Or are we Muslims welcoming our brothers and sisters? First people they see, who are these people? We don't even know where are they located, who's bringing. We have no clue about these things because we're not interested. Again, talking about the sad reality. But I hope and I would like for all of us, inshallah, since we're at the beginning of this process, to contribute in the best possible way so we can help these people in need. We can help our brothers and sisters and mend relations with them as well, because they're going to be a part of our communities. This is if you want to be a good Muslim. And there are many local organizations that we are helping and we are engaging with in order, inshallah, to see a betterment of their situation. They come with a lot when they come from a different country as refugees, man. There is a lot of trauma that these individuals come with. Even as an immigrant, I was an immigrant myself, and I remember the beginning of how hard it was. And how much I appreciated a person even teaching me, and I still remember the person who taught me how to even open a bank account. For many, this is nothing, like it doesn't mean anything for a lot of people. But for those who have been through these, they know how important it is to help the newcomers in this country and everywhere else in the world. So I expect and I pray that our community, inshallah, be among those who really help in different aspects of their needs. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who mend the relations with others and they serve the high purposes that we are obliged in this world. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله حمد الكاملين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه تعظيما لنبيه وتكريما لفخامة شأن الشرف الصفي. فقال عز وجل من قائل مخبرا وآمرا إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وسلم تسليما كثيرا. وارض اللهم عن ساداتنا أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي وعن أهل بيت رسول الله وأصحابه الكرام والتابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك قريب مجيب الدعوات. اللهم انصرنا على أعدائنا، اللهم ثبت أقدامنا، اللهم انصرنا على أنفسنا يا خير الناصرين، وتقبل منا صلاتنا يا مولانا إنك على كل شيء قدير. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. عباد الله، يقول تعالى إن الله